What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the New York Sports Take. We've reached double digits on the relaunch of this fabulous podcast. This is episode number 10. Very glad to be joined by one of the great co-hosts of the program, Andrew Huber, and very special guest that also resides in the same hometown as Andrew. We got Maddie Flynn from East Meadow, University of Binghamton, the best state school undergraduate. Academically, it's not even really close. I got friends that go to Cortland. They love Cortland. They have great things to say about it. But come on, it's big. I mean, really, if you want to get the best degree in the state schools, you don't have to say it, Matt. I'll say it for you.
I'm not saying it. Keep gassing it up. Keep gassing it up. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And we did a few episodes together before a couple of years ago when we were in high school and whatever. Had some great dialogue, conversations. So always excited to get you on. And we bring two entirely different New York sports perspectives to the table. All four of your teams are a complete swap of mine. So you're like the guy I know that has that. Because me and Andrew are pretty much opposite, but we have the Islanders. My friend Jake's like the same, but one or two teams is off. So everybody's a mixed dog, except
Yeah, me and you were on totally different sides of the aisle.
yeah. I remember you telling me about why you're a Rangers fan or whatever, and how miserable you are about it. But now they're good. Now they're good. I mean, they're not great. Their captain's not really producing right now, JT Miller, but they'll be fine. Anyway, we could leave hockey for another day. The stove is getting hot, fellas. I think free agency is going to kick off in about a week or so, or what is it? Yeah, a week or 2 weeks. It's right around the corner, point be told. Jeff Passan just released an article, pretty much broke down all of the names out there. Obviously, the bigger names, we're looking at 3 or 4 position players that are going to be receiving 9-figure deals, which is upwards of $100 million. And from a New York perspective, we have to lead off with this. And I really wanted to bring you on because so many people, I feel like, let me know if you disagree with this, but we're all on social media, and the general thought on Pete is very similar as to what it was last year. And that is Yankee fans are vying and vying and vying. Bring back Bellinger, bring back Bellinger. If we get Tucker, well then I guess buy Bellinger. He's, special player. But bring back Kyle Tucker. As far as the Mets with Pete, it's like this guy, he's their all-time leader in home runs. He's a homegrown talent. He had a career year last year. He had an OPS in the high 850s, 800s. Like, he is the heart and soul of this team. Pete Alonso bleeds orange and blue. He loves being here. He's Mr. LFG. Like, I just am not feeling that from Met fans. They are not starving to bring him back. And I think, I'm not a Met fan. You are. I think if I was in a Met fan shoes, I would feel like that is priority number one. There are changes that have to be made. We could talk about if they have to shake up the quote-unquote core with Nimmo and McNeil and maybe even moving Lindor, something wild like that. That's a whole separate thing. But whatever they do, the main core piece, Pete Alonso, has to come back. What side of the spectrum do you sort of sit on?
I'm definitely bring Pete back. I was on the fence last offseason, but then obviously, he had his postseason run last year. He comes through this season, obviously puts together one of the best seasons of his career. He looked elite in the middle of the order. I don't exactly have his RBI numbers in front of me, but they were
He had 126 ribbies last year.
There you go.
And I think that led to NL.
And I'm all for bringing Pete back. I think the perception with Mets fans, like you talked about, is they want to shake up the core because the current core just hasn't given us what we wanted. I just don't think removing Pete is the answer for that. I think you need his power. I think you need him in the middle of the lineup. And like you said, he's been a Met for life. He is our all-time home run leaders. His number will be retired one day as a New York Met. He has to stay. He has to be a Met for life.
Is he a Met? Is his number in the rafters one day? Does he go next to, well, I guess Keith was the most recent number retiree.
Has to.
Is it okay? No, is his number retired if he leaves? Say he goes to Arizona, like I thought he was last year.
I think it is either way.
Yeah, I still think he gets there, but my point is he has to stay. Pete Alonso's not the guy you remove from the core to shake it up to try to go farther.
Yeah, yeah, Andy, I want to know how you feel about this and like if any, the Yankees have bigger problems to solve. I'm really curious as to how we kind of not tear down this bullpen, but sort of piece it together and reconstruct it because I think that just has to be better. They tried their best to make tangible, plausible upgrades at the trade deadline. And some of it worked, Bednar worked, but it didn't completely work. Bird got sent down in whatever fucking 2 appearances, and what's his face, Camilo Duval. I love his stuff, but he just couldn't really get it together. But so we're gonna get into the Yankees as well. Alonso, any intrigue in maybe even just that mixing in? Like, do you want to even contact Scott Boras, knock on his door at all about Pete? Or are you feeling like let the other teams hash this out on the West Coast? San Francisco, Arizona, I heard Boston, the Mets. Do you even throw it in offer? Do you put your ring in the hat at all if you're the Yanks or like, nah?
I mean, we need right-handed hitting. That's probably
Yeah.
priorities of the team. So, I mean, it depends. I mean, I guess it depends where he's at. I mean, Boras is a tough person to deal with, so we know that. He's going to drive up the price. Same thing with Bellinger too. It's going to be the same way with him. So I mean, I think we need a big right-handed bat. I'm not for like Pete's a great player, but I feel like we need enough of like just home runs and shit. Pete's a good hitter. I know that, but we need guys that are getting on base for the big guys, and I just don't think it's like something they should do. But I mean, I wouldn't mind Pete.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it's hard to. You can argue about the way that he would profile into the lineup and whatever. And
Yeah.
Brian Cashman, of all the things that he said that are just coach speak, or in his case, GM speak, just plain vanilla media answers, he did address the fact that he is going to be looking into something that the fans have been shouting at for a few years, and that's more balance and contact in the bottom of the order. So, as far as our offense goes, I think that should be the first priority. It would definitely be a recalibration, if you will, if they were to bring in Pete and whatever. That would shock a lot of people, but you're bringing in one of the most prolific power hitters in the game and a guy that and Matt, this is like the number one thing with me for Pete. You could look at the numbers, and nothing's more telling in baseball than just the guy's slash line and the numbers that he puts up on a yearly basis. 272. The average was a lot higher than that at the beginning of the year. It kind of dipped off there. But for Pete, take that.
272 is very good for Pete, though. Yeah.
Oh, for Pete, yeah, that's outstanding.
Yeah, 272, 38 bombs, 126 ribbies. A lot of Mets could have improved in the ribbies department other than him. So, like, yeah, obviously that is that's invaluable in today's game, especially as he's willing to play DH too. So that side of it's great. But what is the driving force for me with Pete is this is a guy. And look at all the big power hitters throughout the game that miss time. Like, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Giancarlo was great this year. He hit over 20 home runs. Statistically, if he played like Pete did, over 162 game sample size, Giancarlo probably would have had his best year since Miami. He probably would have hit 50 bombs and 275 in the regular season. But Pete is actually one of those guys that mashes for you, and he plays every day. He played 162 games this year, 162 games last year. I think like 154 the year before that, and 160 the year before that. Point be told, he takes the field every single day. There's some like new baseball term for that. I can't remember what it is. It's like it's you play, but I forget what the little term is.
Availability is the best ability, though.
Yeah, it really is. You can't stress that enough, especially in a sport where just these hitters to get ravaged and everything. It's not the way it used to be. They're lifting these heavy weights and they just get hurt more than they have in the past. But just to wrap up, okay, are you Matt just completely? Is the whole offseason torn apart by you if they don't bring back Pete Alonso? I guess what I'm asking you is the emotional attachment to him that high?
It would hurt a lot. If I saw Pete go, You would need legitimately to totally reshape the pitching staff. Like Pete's gone. You need two frontline starters. You need to address the pen along with bringing Diaz back for me to even be bought in for next year. But like you said, the emotional attachment for Pete. If I see Pete walk, it would break me. That's one of the ones that, you know, it hurts a lot.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, it's just one of those guys, and I feel like, and to your point, when you mentioned that, it kind of sparked something in my head. What you are saying the Mets should pivot to strategically is sort of how the Yankees did it when they lost Soto to you guys last year. We built around run prevention. You know, we gave Max Fried the highest AAV of any lefty in baseball history. That was the main thing that we did, and then made a few marginal improvements to the staff as well. So like that was one way to go, and the pitching in of itself needs work. We're going to talk about that a little. We're going to have some names for you that I rattle off and tell me how you
Mhm.
feel about them potentially. So yes, that is something that has to be addressed no matter what. Pete brought back or not back, but as
Yes.
far as it goes, man, like you look at the situation last year, and it's different situation because Pete actually had made arguably his best season this year in his walk year, whereas last year he saved the season against Milwaukee, I guess. But overall, I think we can all admit a disappointing season for Pete going into his free agency last year. I felt like David Stearns was probably inclined to lay off of him and use his resources elsewhere. But Steve Cohen, the fans first owner of the New York Mets, the man of the people, swept in at the last hour and said, let's get this done. Let's make him the highest paid first baseman, AAV, in MLB history. And it was successful for Pete at least. You guys missed the playoffs and whatever, and that's a whole nother
Mhm.
story. But that I feel like, even though that was a smaller scale, like Cohen sweeping in to bring him back for another year and restart this thing whole again, I think that that's what it should come down to once again. Even if David Stearns, let him be David Stearns in other areas, just
Mhm.
not Pete.
Yeah, even to that point with David Stearns, like even this offseason, he kind of reiterated, he wants to address run prevention, he wants to address pitching, he wants to do all of his typical stuff that, he did in Milwaukee. So David Stearns to me has always felt like a guy that, like you said, he would be more inclined to let Pete walk than Steve Cohen. And I wonder how that kind of maneuvers itself this time around as well. So I guess we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. I think that a guy of Pete's, stature and magnitude as a player, it's gonna be one of those later signings. So we might have to wait a little bit more.
I have a question for you guys though. Do you guys think, and this is one of not one of this is your guys' biggest rival, if he goes, or do you think it's possible Pete goes to Boston? That to me really feels like, oh, if he's not a Met, I could see him very easily going into Fenway. They have the Green Monster, but it's not very deep, and I could see Pete mashing over there.
Yeah.
You could start, Andrew. Go ahead.
I was gonna get into this in a second. You know, the one thing I was gonna say about Pete is that I don't know how he feels about the negotiations last year. If he was rubbed the wrong way with how long it took, or just like how he didn't get his way, he didn't get his long term deal. So I don't know if that plays a factor into it because he ended up getting 30 million. But I feel like he's really gonna explore other teams this offseason. And honestly, I think he'll probably end up just like going back at the end of the day because they'll just have to pay him. He's homegrown. But it's definitely a possibility that Boston pays him, especially if Bregman
Yep.
walks, because
Yep.
Bregman's going to have a huge market also. So they're going to need to replace him with a huge bat. So it makes sense for Pete to go there. Texas is also an option if they want to spend money. I know they want to clear some salary, but yeah, those are two teams that stick out to me.
Yeah, and just to back that up, there are real sources on this. MLB insider John Morrissey has reported and strongly believes that the Red Sox are the strongest contender to sign Alonso away from the Mets. And I heard from another anonymous source that that is closer with Mets brass and David Stearns and company that has reported that the Mets are not leaning towards bringing him back at this point in time. Again, that is not, I mean, obviously I'm not breaking any news. We have not too many people that would, whatever. I'm not even a secondary source. I'm like a 10. Everybody knows this by now. But if you don't, just to reiterate that, and that is frightening to me. I believe the report. The report is coming from somebody. It's anonymous, but generally these reports that play out over time end up kind of being true. And the report is that Boston is currently the strongest contender to go get him, and the Mets are not, which is kind of unbelievable to me. I just can't see it, man. I can't see it, man. I can't see Pete not in the orange.
He shouldn't be in another jersey. He really shouldn't. Like you said, I really can't envision Pete.
Like if I was a Met fan, I would be like outside of Citi Field, like with a billboard on my hand, like bring back Pete. Your Uncle Stevie Cohen.
He's the best.
Your Uncle Steve. You paid. Yes, you did. You put your cards on the table and you showed your stones when you paid Juan Soto $785 million and took him from the evil empire, the big bad crosstown rival Yankees. That was your defining moment up until this point. Great. You poached the best player in the game from the New York Yankees and you flipped him to the other side of town because you put the money bag down. Awesome. But another huge checkpoint for Steve Cohen, if he wants to be the checkbook king and the man of the people and the best owner of the sport, is to pay your homegrown stars. You ever see the Dodgers, who are the new evil empire in baseball, let one of their homegrown stars go? I can't think of any on the top of my head. Please, I would like to be...
Only one they let go was Seager.
Seager, that's true. They let Seager go, and then they brought
everyone else, not really.
Right, and Seager was good. Seager was a good player for the Dodgers.
He got better in Texas, but he was a
two-time All-Star, but not Pete Alonso good. Not that much of a prolific hitter. It just wasn't.
And also just not as important to the franchise. Pete is so important to this Mets franchise. He is so important.
He really is.
The part that does it for me, man, it's just he leads the fucking franchise in home runs. Just think about that.
He breaks the record this year, and again, like I said, you flex your money, you bring in Soto, perfect. Lindor gets on base, Soto gets on base. Pete is the one who's driving them in. Like he said, 120 plus RBIs. You take Pete out of that lineup, it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. Yeah. And then, like, you hope you turn to pitching, but it's never a guarantee you're signing these guys. So Pete has to come back.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts on it.
264 home runs. He's the Mets all-time leader. He passed Darryl Strawberry, who hit 252, I believe, about midway through the year. He signed the ball and said, I don't know, people had a problem with that. I thought it was hilarious. He signed the ball and he said, bye-bye, Darryl, or something like that. That's another thing you got to appreciate about Pete. He's got the quirky personality.
Good guy, too.
A great human being. I'm sure he's involved in all the community Mets stuff and stuff like that. I remember when he came up, just thinking back to the beginning of his career and whatever, I thought, and I'm sure you, Matt, did you feel like, I'm like, yeah, this Alonso guy, he might be something. He could be a good player, but Dom Smith is going to be the next face of the Mets for the next 10 years.
I remember when they were both up, I was just envisioning in my head, like, what are we going to do? It's Dom Smith and Pete Alonso. Dom Smith, Pete Alonso. It was the COVID season then when there was the DH. And Dom Smith had like this great COVID year. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. We got two studs over there at first base. And then Dom Smith is Dom Smith.
Fizzled out. Yeah, hey, Yankee spring training hero, Dom Smith.
Yeah, he was. And then they cut him.
That goes to show that we got to get back on topic here. But that goes to show that he had no chance of making the team because
it didn't even matter what he did.
He hit like 500 in spring training. They're like,
he had a great spring training.
Go sign with the Nationals or do whatever. And he did. And to his credit, last random Dom Smith note of the day is that for a guy that obviously was a flopped prospect, a failed prospect, never lived up to his hype, he's still around. He might get a one-year deal this year on a major league team. I mean, He's a serviceable bench player, a little bit of pop from the left side, not terrible. His gloves improved. So credit to him for sticking around the league to this point in time. But yeah,
Good for you,
Hopefully
Dom
soon.
Smith. Good for
yeah,
you.
he has to come back. Let's talk a little bit about the Yankees situation. I did a solo pod the other day, yesterday actually. Just ran down a few of the headlines from New York sports this week. You can check that out on Spotify or YouTube. Talked about Scatterboo and whatever a little bit too. And Trent Grisham, me and you, Andrew, going back and forth on this a little bit over text. He takes the qualifying offer. I have such mixed feelings about this. I really can't go one way or the other. I'll take emotion aside from it because emotionally, I love Trent Grisham. Like this dude, he was like Barry Bonds against the Mets in the 2022 Wild Card Series with the Padres, blasting balls off the Citi Field wall, even though he hit like a buck 85 in the regular season and was just totally out there.
I just want to point out, I was at the game that Jacob DeGrom started, right? It was electric.
Yeah.
Great time, by the way. I came out with the win. When I saw Trent Grisham take Jacob DeGrom deep, I wanted to throw myself off the stadium because he was killing us.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to your point, like that Trent Grisham's career will be highlighted prior to the Yankees too by that and the ball that got past him in the 2019 Wild Card Series against Milwaukee. I'm sorry, he was with Milwaukee, and I guess Soto hit it. I can't even.
Yeah,
Yes,
Soto
yes,
did.
he did hit it.
Yeah, and a ball got by him in right field, so that was like a defining moment. And that was a really big moment because I guess that game, it was really close. It was back before when there was a 3-game wild card series, win or go home. So if that doesn't happen, maybe the Brewers win that series, and history has changed. The Nationals go on, and they were the little engine that could. They won the World Series that year. But yeah, I've just always when we got Soto last year. Obviously, all Yankee fans were throwing a parade, even though we gave up Michael King, who's amazing, and I would like to bring back. And I was just like the one guy who's like, and we got Trent Grisham, like just a personal favorite player.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not do that. I'll say that.
No, nobody did, just me. And then he had the cool stash and whatever.
And
I got a mustache solely because of Trent Grisham. Like it was just this fairy
Do you
tale.
have a
Yeah.
jersey too?
No, I don't. Well, that would be stretching. What financial implications are tough. For number 12 too. A lot of good. Soriano wore 12. Whatever. So, but anyway, back to the business side of this. Listen, he made $5 million last year, Andrew, and he was great. He was a big reason why we won 94 games. He had 34 bombs, whatever, 850 OPS, I guess it was. Solid presence. Don't really like him in the leadoff spot because he is strikeout machine. So, in terms, it was awesome last year. He got consistent at bats under his belt, and he proved himself, and he worked his way into being not only just a viable everyday player, but a really productive player in our lineup that had huge success. He made $5 million. This year, he's making $22 million. That is a significant pay increase, and it's more money this year that will be paying him this year than he's made up into his entire career at this point in time. It's a big financial commitment for a guy that is coming off a career year and is a career 215 hitter. That's kind of where you get stuck with it. Do you think that this is going to greatly impact the Yankees offseason?
It can't. It can't because they knew that when they were offering this qualifying offer that there's a chance that he accepts it. So if he accepts it, you have to have a plan behind it. Obviously they said now that it's not going to affect them bringing back Bellinger or pursuing him, which we know that now. But you can't offer him the qualifying offer if you don't have a plan that you're going to go over the luxury tax or whatever, the 310. You have to. There's no possible way that they're going to be able to complete this roster to make it World Series material without going over. There's not a single possible way.
Yeah, no, I think you informed me about this too, is that it's the payroll currently sits at $280 million. So it's
$30 million, you can just bring back Bellinger, that's it.
Can you even though? Bellinger's AAV feels like it's going to be higher than 20.
I don't even know if you can bring him back then. We can't do anything. So they have to go over. They have to go way over, honestly. You can't just be cheap anymore. And
I mean,
Go ahead.
I think Bellinger goes way over 20. I have a question for you guys though. One, do you guys think it will impact the offseason? Not if you think that it should. Do you think that it will impact the offseason for the Yankees? And then number two, do you guys think even extending the qualifying offer was a mistake? Because I have it up in front of me. Obviously, like you said, Grisham career year, 34 homers. The next closest that he was 17. Career high in OPS, career high in slugging, career high in at bats. He was great. What are you guys' thoughts? So, what do you think it will impact the offseason, and was it a mistake?
Yeah, go
I
ahead. No, go ahead.
think it'll impact the offseason in the way with like what you do with the young guys like Dominguez and Jones. Like now that you're bringing back Grisham, these guys were supposed to be ready to play, and they said Dominguez is going to have a bigger role next year. How? How did they plan on giving him a bigger role if you obviously Judge is there? Want to bring back Bellinger? Is Bellinger going to first then, or like Ben Rice catching? I mean, there's a lot of questions with it. First off, with that, I feel like it kind of affects it, and second, I think you had to give him the qualifying offer just because he had such a good year. So, I mean, I think he does he deserve it? Yeah, he deserves $20 million. I think he does.
That's what's so confusing about this whole thing to me. So yes, he deserves it if you just look at you can't just look at 1 year and say he deserves it. You have to go over
But he
you have to
got
go
better. He just
the
got
course of
better.
his
He just
entire
became a better
career.
player.
Sure. I read the Athletics big board. They have a great chart about the projections. It's really hard to nobody ever saw Soto getting what he got from the Mets. So it's really hard to predict where the market really is going to land with these guys. But right now they have on his projected offer was 3 years at 54 million. So
No,
I'm not a
I
math
couldn't see
guy.
that.
That's
I thought he would at
around.
least get 20. In this market, when there's a lack of center
Yeah,
fielders,
it's
you
like
had to at least
17 or
get 20.
16 a year, right? So, yeah, and we're paying 22 and a half. It is an overpay. I really don't think that he's worth it, but it's a low commitment because it's just 1 year.
Yeah,
I
for
want to
sure.
answer Matt's question because I think it's a really good question. It shouldn't affect how they carry out the rest of the offseason. It really shouldn't. This should be in the eyes of Brian Cashman and Yankees bigwigs. We really like this player. We like the value that he presented to us from a statistical standpoint. We think that he can build off of what he did based off whatever reasons, X, Y, and Z, when he gets more at bats, blah, blah, blah. And we are not going to not go to town now because we brought back Trent Grisham and we're going to rest on our laurels and maybe bring back Bellinger if we like it. Maybe. If not, we
No,
could play
not
Spencer
maybe.
Jones. Like, that can't be the mentality. The mentality has to be, and I'm afraid it is. I do fear that. There is fear in my heart that that is kind of their thought process right now. The thought process has to be that it's gravy, that it's $22.5 million, and if he stinks, and if he retorts to the Trent Grisham that bucks a buck 90 and strikes out 37% of the time, sit his ass on the bench. That's what they would have done last year because they were paying him $5 million. But this year, with the financial commitment, I know the Yankees. I watch all the games. They're going to keep
He's gonna
rolling them
start
out
every
there.
day now.
That's the way that Boone operates. That's the way they go. Now that he has a higher price tag, they're going to push him a little bit more. But they can't operate that way. They're going to have to push the payroll over $300 million if we want to see real championship improvement. I put out a tweet. He's just like he's not a championship leadoff hitter. He strikes out way too much and he can't hit. He presents the same problems, Trent Grisham as a baseball player, that the Yankees holistically as a lineup do. That roster construction with the lineup. We are too left-handed laden right now, unlike a few years ago when we were too right-handed laden, with power hitting lefties. And there are some really good ones in there, but it's too much of the same. And we just gave an overpay to a guy that brings more of that to the table. So that's why I'm really just not in love with it, especially just because of the way the team profiles. I mean, we already have power hitting lefties here. We have Ben Rice. We have
You
who
have
am I?
a guy waiting to come up that's ready.
We have Wells who, has the pop. We have a ton of guys in that boat right now. That's why it doesn't make sense. I still think that they need to go attack this market and go after a Kwan. I really like Stephen Kwan. I really want him. Like, that's my number one Christmas wish, is to bring in Stephen Kwan. Slap hitter, lefty, you plug him in at the top of the order, bat him in front of Judge. I think that would be tremendous. It adds that contact element. So yeah, if the Yankees say we want to bring back Grisham because we like him and we want him to play every day, but we're going to move him down to the 6 or 7 hole, and if he stinks, then we'll just eat the money, great. But I just don't see them viewing it that way. They're going to bank on him to have another huge year, which is kind of hard to say if it's going to happen based off his track record. So
Just real quick, I mean, from a Mets fan's perspective, I completely agree with you guys. I don't think Grisham should impact your off season. Andrew, you made a great point with the young guys coming up, and you know you want to provide more opportunities for them, and it's kind of hard with Grisham there. And I just want to point out like just how much of an outlier Trent Grisham the season that he had was last year. 30, I'll round it up. 33% of Trent Grisham's career home runs came last year. 30, that's a third. That's ridiculous. He had a ridiculous season.
He did, and to his credit, like, I think back to Trent Grisham's time with the Yankees. One of the core memories is when I was sitting in Andrew's living room and we were watching Yankees-Dodgers Sunday Night Baseball 2 seasons ago, the Soto season. The Soto only missed like 1 series as a Yankee. I can't forget. He didn't go on the IL. It's a minor injury. And he was available to play that day. He was just on the bench. It was just being precautionary about it. He's like, yeah, he'll sit today. He should be back tomorrow, whatever. So he's sitting there on the bench. It's like a big situation. I guess we're down a run or 2 in like the 6th or 7th inning. Grisham was already like 0 for 2 on the day. And Yankee Stadium just starts bursting out in Bronx fashion cheers. We want Soto, as Grisham's up at the plate. And he whacks a 3-run homer right down the line and gives the Yankees a lead. It was awesome. I loved it. He shut everybody up. And even Aaron Judge, the captain of the team, comes out on the post-game presser and is like, that's why you have belief in a guy like that. So that was a cool moment. Trent really did. I think he had 9 home runs the year before. It was a really good year. That was basically it for him.
He did have 9 the year before.
9, right.
Yeah, you are correct.
So, yeah, like, it's just hard. Could you really see him rep? I mean, if I had to guess, I think that there's 2 dramatics here. He's not going to return to who he was last year. I don't think he's going to retort to the player that he was in his waning years in San Diego, where he was really like unplayable with what he was doing at the plate. I think he'll be somewhere in the 20 home run aisle. Bigger picture here with the more I think about it, the more it was a really good opportunity for them to just let Grisham go. Because in that case, I haven't even mentioned the main reason why what initially crossed my mind when we gave Grisham the offer. Virtually any chance of going after Kyle Tucker and paying him that 9-10 year deal is out the window. Unless we trade Spencer Jones, which I think the front office just likes the kid too much and has kept him around too long to do at this point in time. Like, I just don't. That's been great for bed, dude. Yeah. So, like, any chance at Kyle Tucker's probably shot. And then the roster's going to look similar as to, even if they bring back Bellinger, what are you changing really? So that's kind of where I sit with that. It would have been a good opportunity to let him go actually make a real pursuit for Kyle Tucker if you so desire to do so. And then maybe plug and play, trade a kid, keep a kid, start Dominguez. I thought we really could have got creative without Grisham is what I'm saying. A lot of different things they could have done, namely, going and making a real offer at Kyle Tucker, who I love as a player. I love the power, the eye, even the speed. He's electric on the base pass. His defense has declined a little bit over the years, his defensive value. But still, I think he's a really good player. He had his worst year in a while last year, and that was because of 2 injuries. And you look at the final numbers, they're still pretty good. He still hit around 270, still had over 20 home runs, still had a really good year, had a really strong start in Chicago. It is kind of sad. For the Cubs to be a big market team and for their owner to have as much money as he does, and for the prospects they gave up I think two
Two big
years of
ones.
control
Yeah.
of Isaac Paredes,
Yeah.
Smith, and not even make a run at him.
It's so disgusting. It really I feel for Cubs fans. And also there's a real possibility Kyle Tucker goes to the reigning defending one of the champions. He might go to the Dodgers, and two, the defending AL champions, your rival Toronto Blue Jays. He could also go there as
I
well.
think he's gonna end up with the Blue Jays. I do.
That's kind of the consensus top contender right now is Toronto, and boy, let me tell you, man, they already their lineup we discussed it as we opened this podcast, whatever. I was doing World Series recaps, whatever, and I couldn't help but like gloat over the way that the Blue Jays lineup is constructed because it's just so well balanced. And now, granted, if they were to bring in Tucker, I don't think they're bringing back Bichette too, because that would just be.
I think they are. I think they're all in.
You really think that? I
Yeah.
mean, they're kind of Toronto
They
is they're
They
a little
pay. They
insane,
can
man.
pay.
look,
They went after
they
Soto last year too. They
I
gave
was
him a
gonna
good
say
day.
they've gone big fish hunting before. I mean, they were after
Otani
Shohei.
too.
They were after they were after Soto. They're
They can do
definitely
it.
in on Kyle Tucker.
Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise. I'll say that it would not
Yeah.
surprise me if they
They got
brought it
both. Yeah.
in both.
I
Would
know,
not
man.
shock me either.
That's the number one name I mentioned before we got on. We were talking about the 2027. Like Kyle Tucker, we've been spoiled with great free agents the past few years. Soto last year headlining it. Year before Shohei, some really good pitchers the year before. Max Fried last year, there's no pitchers as good as Max Fried. There's some very good ones. Dylan Cease, Zach Allen, a couple other
Framber.
guys. Yeah, Framber's. I like Framber a lot. Good fit for the Mets. We're going to do this list, by the way, like in a few seconds of Mets pitching. Want to get into that just a little bit before we wrap up. Where was I? What was I saying? So, like, this is the 2027 class is not as sexy as this one. There are a lot of really good names out here, and I think that our teams have to be very active. And for the Yankees, Andrew, we're just going to have to get creative at this point because yes, the payroll has to be over 300 million, and I think that they will. I think they'll pony up and they will do it. They're not going to stay under. House said it's not sustainable, but he did it last year. We offered Soto $5 million less than the Mets did, really 35 with bonuses, but still offered him 760 million. So you tell me the payroll wouldn't have been over 300 million then for the next freaking 15 years or whatever Soto's deal is? No, it would have been. So they will do it, but I think that they got to build like the dot. I mean, of course, I'm a fan. I want to see them get everybody, but like they have to. They should still be on Tucker. I'm not going to mandate that they have to get Kyle Tucker, but they should still have the ring in the hat for him. And if they don't get him, they should still have the entire intent of bringing back a guy in Cody Bellinger, who was, other than Judge, the team MVP last year. He was just all around so great for us. His game-saving catch against the Mets in July will always stick in my memory because we were reeling at that point in time. I think he saved the season with that catch. He just showed up every single day, versatile, can play first base for you, can play all three outfield positions at an above average level, puts the ball in play too. He significantly cut down on his strikeout rate. I love him. So yes, they have to bring him back if they're not getting Tucker. So we'll see. I think this Grisham thing will hamstring them in a couple of ways. All right, let's talk a little bit about Met pitching. I think the most underrated aspect, Matt, agree or disagree, the most underrated aspect about the Mets' collapse last year was their offense. Underrated.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that because I think everybody did like obviously focus on the pitch, and the pitching was total mess. Right now, it is a total mess until they address it. But yeah, I mean, I do think it definitely the offense also played a role. It kind of fizzled out a bit. And honestly, it just felt like the team overall just wasn't very connected, right? It was like if the
Right.
offense played really well, the pitching was awful. If the pitching was on it, the offense wasn't showing up. And if both the starting pitching and the offense were on, the bullpen would eventually come through and ruin it. So it felt like the complete opposite of 2024. It was just a lack of connectedness in general.
Yeah, no, that's spot on, dude. It was really. I just think that I highlighted the word underrated because we're about to get into their pitching,
Yeah.
but the offensive collapse, particularly, I thought even out of the chute, even when they were playing really well, it was like the Blue Jays before they got over the hump. It was just way too top heavy, and I don't want to
Yeah.
hear about Beatty having a nice 2 weeks or
Mm.
whatever. I don't want to hear about Vientos having a nice series. Like they stunk last year. They didn't produce enough consistently,
The
and
bottom of
that's
the
also
order, honestly, once you got past 4, 5, it was a mess. 6, 7, 8, 9. It was awful, and it's got to be addressed somehow. I mean, I can't have Tyrone Taylor in center field. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, if they end up doing that, then that's a major indictment on the way that they've handled the offseason.
Yeah.
But we could definitely talk about that another time. I want to throw some names at you from an article I read today on SNY.com.
Okay.
Ranking Mets top 5 free agent pitching targets for 2025. It's from Danny Abrino. You can find it on SNY's website. They put out a lot of great stuff. Obviously, Sports Night New York, great program as well. Number 5, just give me like yes or no, brief description as to why. Here's a guy that I really like, and I think he could be like he's not on a lot of your guys' radar right now. I'll
Mm-hmm.
say that. There's not a lot of callings from
Mm-hmm.
Mets faithful to bring this guy in, but you've seen a lot of them. He's within your division, and he's probably had some pretty nice outings for you too. And that would be Ranger Suarez, who is turning 30 this summer, and not a strikeout guy, as you know, Matty. He's never thrown over 160 innings in a season. But for the most part, he does go out there and take the ball every 5 days, and he posts pretty good numbers for you. Adds a lefty to the rotation as well. 3.25 ERA, and 3.25 career ERA in just about 700 innings of his career. Yeah, I mean, for a team that spends a lot of money, like you got to be pretty happy if you bring this guy in, plug him
Yeah.
in the back of your rotation. No.
Uh, biggest thing for me that I want in that rotation is consistency. Ranger Suarez is consistency. Like you said, he will go out there every 5th day. He will give you a good quality start, and that's really what I want. I can't do this, taxing the bullpen thing again. I just want consistency, and Ranger Suarez would be an absolute home run.
Yeah, we'll hurry up here because Andrew's got to get going pretty
Now, I want to
soon.
ask Flynn something real quick.
Mm.
Go ahead.
So about the pitching here, Stearns has brought in a lot of guys with like, oh, we're gonna fix them and stuff. How do you feel about that this offseason? You don't like you
I got
want
to take on that, but go ahead, Flynn.
proven starters. I'm
It's
assuming.
always so tricky because Stern's overall track record is good, but then some like when you throw Frankie Montas, you give him 2 years, like 30 million, and now he's cut. We just DFA'd him. We didn't even get through the second year. It was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
The bullpen.
Don't trust Frankie Montas. That was horrible from the start.
Yeah,
I
we
try to
do
talk
not like
myself
Frankie
into it.
Montas.
I know.
We do not like him.
That's why I would really prefer if we didn't go for these reclamation projects.
That's fair.
I just want consistency.
Yeah, yeah.
Ranger Suarez is that guy.
Yeah, we'll get through the rest of the names here. One thing I got to add on that is that there was nobody singing David Stern's praises like I was after the appearance of the NLCS 2 years ago, because the way he plugged and played that rotation and how beautifully it worked out, particularly in October with Sean Manaea, was so fantastic. Sean Manaea, you guys wouldn't have got to the World Series without him, as well as Severino's contributions. I know
Yeah.
he wasn't perfect, but he pitched some very valuable
I'll,
innings for the
I'll, I'll tell you, letting Sevy walk and then bringing in Frankie Montas,
not the
like
move. Yeah,
No.
yeah. Well, as we
terrible.
know,
Same thing with Quintana.
we talk about GMs. Yeah, that's a big thing that we do in this town, New York sports, is talk about GMs or whatever. And I'll say one thing: I think about Brian Cashman and his tenure with the Yankees. He's made a shit ton of mistakes, and he's had a lot of hits. And he's had almost a 30-year reign over the New York Yankees. Me and Andrew were laughing about that a few episodes ago.
That
It's
is
ridiculous.
absolutely
The
insane.
shelf life for a GM. That's like
Please,
your man that
That is
works in Geico.
unbelievable.
Please let him go.
It's crazy. I mean, 30 years for any job. 30 years as a teacher, a firefighter, or a cop is a long time. The general manager of the most successful franchise in sports, 30 years. But hey,
Unreal.
there's a reason he's been in that, and he's had a lot of misses because you get a lot of hits too. You're not going to hit on everything. So I kind of do. I'm pro Stearns' pinch, plugging and playing with the rotation. I think over the long haul, it can be successful. But here's a guy that I would overpay a little bit in Ranger Suarez. He's like a sexier version of Nestor Cortez. I think that's the best way to put it. His fastball tops around like 91, 90. So that's kind of the way to put it there. Framber Valdez, just because I really feel like Suarez would be a better fit and whatever, I would say no on Framber. Framber's underrated in this sense. He's 77th percentile in ground balls. And we know one pitcher in this town that does that better than anybody in the sport, and that's Max Fried at inducing ground balls. So he doesn't really overwhelm you with his stuff. I'll say this, watching him throw against the Yankees, I think he's got a really sick curveball. That's like his strikeout pitch. But he's not going to overwhelm you. Elite ground ball rate, like I just mentioned. His ERA sat around the mid-threes every year. And he's more durable, Matt, than... he's going to cost you a higher price tag just because he's the better player than Suarez. But he's even more durable than Ranger Suarez. He is up there. I can't find the number right now. I was reading it earlier as to him taking the mound every fifth day. He's virtually never on the IL. Like the past 3 or 4 years, he doesn't really miss starts at all. So that's huge. But I feel like you could just get better value on the dollar for Suarez, so I'd lay off that. But, I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I was a Met fan if I brought in Framber.
No, I think you take either or. I think overall, I'd probably go Cease as like my top guy for pitching, and Framber's
Right.
kind of been at my number two. Like
Yeah.
I really like Framber. I watched him kill us opening day this
Yeah.
year. I love watching him pitch.
Yeah, Valdez, only 2 pitchers, and his home run rate's great too. Only Logan Webb and Max Fried over the last 500 innings have a lower home run rate than Valdez at .68 dingers per 9 innings, which is, I mean, that's so good. And over the past 8, this is the one I was looking for because we talk about, like we say, big priority for the Mets this offseason durability is being able to take the mound every fifth day. He's got 767 and 2/3 innings over the last, that's how many he has over the past 4 years. So just a cool little nugget there. We'll wrap up on these names. Michael King. I know you said Cease for a righty, but he's been so good as a converted starter. He's like, you talk about reclamation projects and what they tried to do with Clay Holmes. Michael King is exactly he's the A scenario for that kind of guy.
Oh yeah, no, I mean again, I think all of these guys might be a yes from me just because of the shape of the pitching staff and how it was. And yeah, King, I mean, I know, get parting ways with him in the Soto deal. I remember talking to Ange about that, and he was, that losing King hurt.
That's
Obviously,
what did
like
it for me.
when you
Yeah.
brought in Soto, you're thrilled. Losing King, like Andrew really felt like, oh yeah, we're gonna see him have a really good career somewhere else. So yeah, he's another guy that I'd be pumped to get.
All right, Tatsuya Amaya. This guy, he's really like the only Japanese player that pitcher. There's 2 really high profile position players out there that are likely headed towards MLB, but this is the one pitcher. He's been
I'm very high
amazing.
on him.
He's coming off a
Yeah.
monster year for his team, the Lions over there. 163 innings, 1.92 ERA. I assume that any fan base of any team would be thrilled to bring him in. And then we'll wrap up with Dylan Cease. Would you say that's your number one guy? Like go
Yeah,
get
yeah,
him.
yeah. Yeah, I would give a lot. I would give a lot for Dylan Cease. He's my number one. Then I go Framber. Then I'd probably go King, then Suarez for me.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, you're not going to be screaming and hollering if they bring any of these guys in. They should really be knocking on the door for all of them. And it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And we're going to talk a whole lot more in the coming weeks about free agency and what the Yankees do from here, how Grisham affects their future plan. If we didn't even talk about the guys on those small market teams over there, Scooball, Scenes. We didn't even talk about them. I think that there could be something cooking, especially with the
I know
man
you
in
saw
Detroit
what
over there.
they were saying about
Yeah, he
skiers.
really shut that down, but I don't believe his ass. He wants
He's
to.
No,
Yeah, he
no,
wants to
of course.
be.
he knows
You
Come
he'll
give
on, he
say
you
it.
wanted
give
Babe Ruth. They wanted to buy the co-op in New York City. Are you kidding
yes.
me?
You give the PR answer, of course. I want to win where I am right now, and
Well,
this,
buddy,
that,
you're
and the
not winning
third.
as a Pittsburgh Pirate. I'll tell you
Yeah, I'll
that.
tell you that right now. Beautiful ballpark, sad franchise, terrible owner. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for coming on to this little Mets Yankee off-season chop-up show. Just talking about where do we go from here. The stove is heating up. Free agency just about a fortnight away. It's a special term for like 2 weeks. I just learned it. I think it's funny to say. And yeah, thanks so much for watching this episode number 10. Have a great night, everybody. See ya.